When it comes to measuring aerobic fitness, VO2 max testing is the best way to determine the conditioning level of your cardiovascular system. This is important for people participating in aerobic endurance-related sports, as well as recreational athletes and fitness enthusiasts looking for measurable improvements in their cardiovascular performance. This video will show you the procedure for testing your VO2 max using a treadmill-based running protocol, as well as some tips for improving your VO2 max once you have your baseline. Your VO2 max is the maximum rate of oxygen your body can use when exercising at maximum intensities. The name is derived from three abbreviations: V for volume, often you'll see a dot over the V which indicates per unit of time, O2 for oxygen, and max for maximum. VO2 is measured in litres of oxygen consumed per minute and may be expressed in units of litres per minute. Since your body mass is used as part of its measurement, the unit of VO2 max is therefore millilitres per kilogram per minute. A higher VO2 max means you can exercise at a greater absolute intensity before relying on anaerobic energy systems. This exercise intensity level is also known as your lactate threshold or anaerobic threshold. In simple terms, when you surpass your VO2 max, your body begins using anaerobic energy systems, which are much quicker to fatigue and cause a buildup of lactate in your muscles. This ultimately coincides with the burning feeling you get when exercising at high intensities. Elite athletes like competitive distance runners, racing cyclists, or Olympic cross-country skiers can achieve VO2 max values exceeding 90 millilitres per kilo per minute, while some endurance animals, such as Alaskan huskies, have VO2 max values exceeding 200 millilitres per kilo per minute. The average untrained healthy male has a VO2 max of approximately 35 to 40 millilitres per kilo per minute, while the average untrained healthy female has a value of approximately 27 to 31 millilitres per kilo per minute. Your VO2 max can improve with training, though the degree of trainability also varies widely and decreases with age. There are lots of different protocols for measuring your VO2 max, but typically they involve exercising either on a stationary bicycle or a treadmill at progressively higher intensities while wearing a mask hooked up to a machine that measures the amount of oxygen in the air you exhale compared to the amount of oxygen you inhale. The greater the difference between the oxygen level in the inhaled versus exhaled air, in other words, the greater amount of oxygen being used, the higher the VO2 max. Let's see how this plays out in the lab. First, your subject will complete a pre-exercise questionnaire to ensure that it is safe for them to do the test. Then their height and weight will be measured. These values are used in the calculation of VO2 max. Next, the subject will be fitted with a mouthpiece connected to an oxygen and carbon dioxide analyzer. A heart rate monitor is also sometimes worn to check whether the subject's maximum heart rate is also reached during the test. In this protocol, a treadmill is being used. The subject begins the test running at an easy pace, corresponding with a low exercise intensity. The speed of the treadmill, and therefore the intensity of exercise, is increased in stages. As the intensity of exercise increases, the volume of oxygen being consumed by the subject will also increase. At a certain point, oxygen consumption will plateau, despite an increase in workload. This plateau is your VO2 max. At this point, the subject has passed their lactate or anaerobic threshold. Their body has begun using anaerobic energy systems, so they will begin to fatigue rapidly and ultimately won't be able to maintain the workload. They stop running. The VO2 max value recorded in this test was 56 millilitres per kilo per minute. If you are sedentary, your VO2 max will generally improve in response to any exercise that stresses your cardiovascular system. For those who train regularly, the best ways to improve your VO2 max is by exercising at high intensities. For instance, a study published in 2016 showed how 4-minute sets of running at an intensity of between 85 to 95% of maximum heart rate, with 3 minutes of recovery in between sets at 70% maximum heart rate, boosted participants' VO2 max by 10% over the training period.